All right, it's 10:32. We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to the Travel Information Meeting, May 2020. Glad to have you all back. Just a little housekeeping. So just as a reminder, this meeting is recorded and we will be sending it out via the listserv. So like usual, we'll be sending it out as a YouTube link. So if you got to cut out early or anything like that, just know that it is recorded and we will be sending it out via the listserv. Usually takes us just a few business days just to, get all the video clipped and everything like that. So you can expect that. And like we said in the announcement for questions, last time the questions got a little crazy, so we want to tighten it up a little bit. So if you do have any questions, just be sure to ask any questions that are related to what I'm presenting and to go ahead and hold them until the end of presenting the slide. And then if you have any general questions, just related to travel or anything else that's going on, we're going to go ahead and hold those questions until the end. So at the very end, we'll do a Q&A, and that's where you can, ask any questions about travel. It doesn't have to do, anything with the slides. If you have any, policy questions or anything else about what's going on, any concerns you have at the department level, just let us know. But if you have any questions during the meeting, we're going to address those that are specific to what's being presented at that moment. So any general questions, again, if you could hold those at the end, it'd be greatly appreciated. Let's go ahead and get started. And let me put this in presentation mode. Okay. So travel services updates. So myself, Kelly McGarry, if you haven't met me already, April Berger, and Teresa Athen is the travel services team. So first thing, a lot of you folks may have seen this already, but we're just really excited to announce that our new website is complete. So like we've mentioned in a few of the information meetings, the focus of the website update has been to update the content. There's a lot of kind of duplicate information. So one thing we were trying to get away from was, the compliance being mentioned on one page and it being mentioned on another page. So we've gotten away from a lot of that, which is awesome. And then just a lot of it has been rewritten just over the years, just needed some updates. We've also, updated some of the URLs. A lot of times when you copy and paste them, when sharing with people, they would get kind of messed up because they had weird spaces in them and things like that. So we were able to fix a lot of that. So we're really excited to show off all the work that we've done on it. We also want to give special thanks to UW Marketing on the homepage graphic design. They had some awesome interns help design like an infographic for the homepage, and it turned out really, really great. So we're super excited about that. But just so you know, regarding the website, if you still have any feedback or you run into any issues or something's misspelled, we're always still, open to feedback and changes. So it is something that we manage internally within our office. So even though we finished the project, it's, it's still ongoing. It's still a living, breathing type thing. So if you have any feedback or come across any problems, we would still want to hear about those and get those updated. And next, I'm just going to kind of touch on the new layout. So one thing that's changed is that kind of top ribbon. We rearranged a lot of the blocks up there. It had just gotten a little clunky and things were kind of misplaced and it was a little funky in the way it was arranged. So a lot of the project was just actually rearranging those things in the way that we felt was best as far as, where you guys are navigating to the most and things like that. We added these 5 buttons at the bottom. So we used to have like a quick link section that was kind of similar in the bottom right. So we kind of got away from that. Now we made it a little bit more prominent with some nice buttons. And those are kind of based on, analytics that we've done as far as researching, what pages you guys are going to the most. And then obviously some very clear things that you're visiting the most, such as, the Ariba login and getting information about per diem and training and things like that. Let's see, I got a question for duplicated compliance information. Did you at least link back to the remaining compliance data? Correct. So a lot of it, some of the pages like where we felt where the information is relevant to that, what we did is instead of having the content duplicated twice, what we did is we just have it link out to the one place where it lives. So you will see like information mentioned multiple times, but instead of like reading the whole entire content, it's just going to say like, oh, this is related to meals. Go visit our meals page, and then it brings you over that way. So it still kind of links to each other. You may want to switch displays so the PowerPoint looks better when you're seeing two screens. The next page. Is that everyone seeing two displays right now? I want to make sure that's not happening. Maybe let me try resharing it. Let me know if that looks better. That might have fixed the issue. Okay, awesome. All right, looks like I fixed the issue. Perfect. Okay, I'll keep moving along. And then also just kind of back to some of the updates we made on the homepage. So these were sections that we had before, but we have important updates was something that was just kind of like text sort of in the middle of the website, a little clunky. And so now we turned that into a block. A little bit different with the upcoming events. So we used to have these a little bit separated. They were at the bottom of the page, but they had multiple blocks for our e-travel and our travel policies and procedures. We retitled that to be upcoming events. So that's where we'll be posting just any sort of events that we're holding. So for the most part, that's going to be the classes. So e-travel hands-on training and travel policies and procedures. Just know that they're not separated now. It's just in our upcoming events section. And then to see the full list, you just go to click see more, and then you can, so if you don't see the one that you're interested in scheduling for, you just click that and it'll bring you to the rest of them. And then our important updates, we have a COVID-19 section at the end. We'll kind of talk about those important updates, but just know that this is where we're storing any of the information related to COVID-19 important updates. So just you scroll down on our homepage and it's right there in important updates. And then that is a hyperlink. You just go ahead and click COVID-19 and it'll bring you to all those updates. And then we also have a link out to finance transformation. So obviously a big thing that's going on. And we have Rachel, who's going to be presenting on some FT updates as well. But that's the purpose of that block. And then at the very, very bottom, it's going to be contact us. We also have, contact us at the top right in one of the ribbons. But that's where you can contact us. And it also, that's where we moved, where you can sign up for our listserv. So anyone who's not getting our emails, our listserv emails, that's where they can go to go get signed up. So if you have any new hires and things like that who are interested in learning more about travel, that's where you'd be pointing them to go get signed up. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about a trick that you can use within the eTravel Ariba system. This is actually something that I actually didn't know about till kind of somewhat recently. Someone on the procurement team had actually pointed it out to me. And so a lot of you may already know that this exists, but we figured we'd share it because we actually didn't even know this existed for the longest time. But there's a trick that you can do using the approval flow where you can actually determine if there are any errors on the expense report before you go to submit it. Just thought it was a pretty handy, pretty cool trick. And so what normally happens is if you're building the expense report and then you go to click submit, what it'll happen is it'll error out and it'll tell you you need to go back and fix so-and-so error. So the one I'm showing is line item 1 amount must not be 0. So the expense report doesn't let you submit if any of the line items are 0. And it's also noticing that there's a budget number that's missing for line item 2. So those are a couple examples of the errors. So what would normally happen is you click submit, it would tell you those errors. But what you can do is before you get to the point of submit, if you're kind of wondering if it's going to error out before you actually go to submit it, you can go to the approval flow and it's actually going to show you those errors before you do that. And so I thought that was a pretty handy trick. That way you don't have to get it aired out at the point of submitting. You can actually, as you're working on it, you can just click that approval flow tab and you know whether there's going to be any errors when you go to submit it. So just kind of a useful little trick that we came across. And new meals paid for other spreadsheet. So I know this is something we've been talking about for a long time, and now we actually have it completed and it is live on the website. So we just uploaded it on the website this morning. So if you've been on that page, in the past week or anything like that, it hasn't been there. We just uploaded it this morning. And so it has been completed, based on the work that we've put in, a lot of the, questions and concerns over the spreadsheet that we've gotten over the years. We also did a survey to get some feedback on it as well. So with all those in mind, we have now completed a final copy. If you do have any, feedback, or if you run into any problems with the spreadsheet, kind of like what I was saying with the website, it's still going to be, a living, breathing document. It's our document. We have access to the file. We can make changes to it. So if something's not working with it, please let us know, and we can still, have the flexibility to make adjustments if need be. But we're hoping, with the changes, it may be that it'll be a little easier to use. One thing we addressed with the spreadsheet that the other one didn't have was the situations where people are buying, groceries, and it's for multiple meals. We think this one will do a little better job with those type of examples, whereas the other one was based on per meal. So this one has a little more flexibility when you're dealing with, with multiple meals. But again, so all the instructions are built in. And also, we put a blank template version as well as a completed example. So you'll see that on the website, and it shows it really clearly. It says template version and completed version. So that way you can kind of see, based on the instructions, how it would look when it's completed. And then also, we'll also be recording a YouTube webinar that walks through how to actually do it. So we feel like that'll be, a useful resource especially for new hires or someone who hasn't used the spreadsheet before. You can follow along on our YouTube webinar, and we'll go into detail about how to complete each section for the spreadsheet. We have not done the webinar yet, so that one's not on the website, but we will let you know when that's completed and ready. Probably have it done possibly the end of this week or the beginning of next week. We'll get that recorded. Shouldn't be too difficult to do. And where we'll be is in the training section on the website. Which is under resources on the home page. If you just go to the top, we also have one of those 5 buttons I was showing you on the home page. One of them is training. If you click that training button, it'll bring you right there, and you'll see all of our other webinars that are on there. And so we'll be adding that to the list, and we'll let you know once it's been added. All right, and another Ariba eTravel trick that we came across. So I was actually baffled when I came across this one. It was crazy. I was actually teaching the eTravel class, which is pretty funny. I've been teaching that class for years, and as I was teaching it, there was a new hire in there, and they're like, "Hey, did you know that you can actually do this?" And I was like, "What? Are you serious?" And it was super funny. I was freaking out, but yeah, it's super cool. So just so you know, with the mass edit, so when you're working in Ariba, there's a way that you can assign a budget number to multiple line items. And how I've always been teaching it, or how I've known the functionality to be over the years, is you just click mass edit, and then it assigns the budget number to all the different line items. There is actually a way, if you do control left click, to actually assign which line items you want the mass edit to actually do the mass edit for. So if you look at my screenshot, you can see some of them are highlighted yellow, and then some of them are highlighted white. So what you do is you just mouse over, control click those ones, and they turn yellow, and then you go to click the mass edit, and then it will only do the mass edit, the budget for those different line items. And so I just feel like that's definitely a very useful trick, where if the situation where, certain budget numbers need this, or certain line items need this budget number, and certain line items need this other budget number, what you'd normally, without this trick, you would just have to go, one by one and assign them. But with a control click, you can actually assign multiple at the same time without it applying it to every single line item. So some of you may already know that existed, but I actually didn't know it existed for all these years. So pretty useful trick. And if you're doing it for the first time, you can't figure it out, just give us a call, and we can help you, walk you through it. So hopefully that helps you guys out. All right, and now I'm going to turn it over to Rachel from Finance Transformation. She's got some updates for you. and I made her co-host, so she should be able to share her screen. And I'll also, you're able to unmute yourself. That's awesome.
Yes,
All right.
so I'm unmuted. Hi, you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you for sure.
Perfect. And then let me try to share my screen. Great. Perfect. So good morning, all. My name is Rachel Trapeau. I've attended a few of these, and we so far have essentially just had some general kind of high-level updates for the Finance Transformation Program, but want to make sure that you all are aware of some of the things that we've got going on the program. We currently don't have any travel-specific updates at this point, but I'm going to talk a little bit about timeline, when you can expect those, and then we're going to cover our business processes and taxonomy in a little bit more detail. So I've got our timeline here. Oops. I've got our timeline here. This is for implementation. So this is going to be between the start of this year, January 2020, and then our go live date for Workday, which is going to be July 1st, 2022 with the new fiscal year. And currently we are in what we are calling the architect stage. So this tan chevron here, we're a few months into architect phase. And some of the really big things that we've been working on as a program are our process design workshops that we've got noted here, which ties into our business processes. By the end of this architect stage, so this is going to be the end of September, we are anticipating we'll have more information about our systems dispositions. So this is kind of the tech piece, and this is work that our technology team is working really hard on right now. And then we'll have a bit more information in terms of our operating model or our shared services. As we had mentioned in one of our previous meetings, there's kind of a directional decision that we know we need to kind of come together and rethink about where work gets done as we redesign some of our workshops. So if we move into kind of our business processes, this is the core of where we're doing work and where a lot of these decisions over the summer will get made. Let's see if that'll let me go to the next screen. Perfect. So we've shown you guys this before. These are each of the 9 end-to-end business process areas that we have. Procurement and supply chain are the area where any travel updates are going to go. And while we have these business process ideas, something that we have been working on as a program is thinking through, okay, what exactly goes in to each of these business processes? So when we say procurement and supply chain, what is the work that's going to be included within all of the procurement and supply chain work that we do today, right? So these 9 end-to-end business process areas are kind of big bodies of work or big groups of work, and we are at a point where we're trying to figure out, okay, what are the major things that get done in each one, and then what are the tasks or the subtasks that are done in each one, so that we can make sure that we are really thinking through all of the work that will be done in the future, how it will look, where it will happen, and all those good things. So as we've been kind of developing and thinking through and documenting all of the work that is in each of these end-to-end business process areas, we've come up with what we are calling a taxonomy. So in this example here, we've got our end-to-end business process area. For example, this one is called plan and manage the business. And then we've got our business processes that are directly under there. So part of plan and manage the business is setting long-term plans for the financial work involved here, and then also setting the annual budget. And below that, we've got sub-processes. So this is kind of further detail of some of the work that we are doing. In terms of taxonomy, we're considering these as kind of levels or bodies of work. So our end-to-end process is essentially level 1, the business process is level 2, and then the sub-process is level 3. And I want to go over one more slide, and then I can actually show you guys where you can find all the information for this online, and we can do a quick demo for you. So the point of kind of embodying this taxonomy is to help us really nail down what's in scope or what's not within a certain business process within the finance transformation program, to make sure that when we are going out and we're meeting with stakeholders or we're gathering requirements or making decisions, as decisions will kind of start being made over the summer, that when we go out and we talk with people, we're all talking about the same thing and the same types of things. Really understanding all of the work that's going to be within each of these end-to-ends is going to help us coordinate our work. It's going to help us do testing and configuration later towards the end of the year and when we get into testing. And it's going to also make sure that we don't forget anything when we're thinking about business requirements and if we've made those decisions or not, and kind of what that all looks like. So I'm going to hop out of presentation mode here. Let's see what I can, there we go. You guys may notice, you'll see these in the documents that Kelly will share after. I've got some links to the different things that we've been talking about in the notes here. I have gone ahead and have pulled up our change network. I've got it bookmarked on my computer, but you'll also see these in the slide notes. So the change network is our internal UW website. It is going to have details. It's open to anybody with a UW Net ID. And this is going to be where we've got all the details, additional information about the finance transformation program as a whole. Today, we're going to take a look at the business process transformation area, but there's lots of good things on here. I won't go into it in too much detail since we want to focus on taxonomy and showing you where that is today. But we've got a lot of different things here. This is a site that we're going to be building out as time goes on. And right now, our communications team is really focused on building this out and making sure we've got information on here that's helpful and continuing to iterate and add to it as soon as we have more information or decisions or anything really program related ready. So we've got stuff like our timeline, our newsletter, fact sheets. Future state is one of those that we're going to be building out more in the future. We've got our tech site, our change management site, and business process transformation is where I kind of want to direct our attention to today. So in terms of our business process transformation, we've got each of the end-to-end process areas with their own site and with their own page. That's going to cover the taxonomy. It's going to cover some of our major goals. So as we scroll down, we can find the one for procurement and supply chain. And this page is going to have our definition, what's included in procurement supply chain. It's going to have our major transformation goals in this area. And then we've got, this is kind of high level, right? That level one being here's the end-to-end, and then the level two of here's all the processes that are going to be included in this body of work as we look through it. So travel and expense is level two. We've got a whole area that people around the program, people around UW are starting to kind of look into and think about over the course of the summer. And then we've also got some technology resources. If any of you are interested or thinking through or want to know kind of where we're at in terms of our procurement and supply chain work with regards to maybe the systems that we're using, integrations and reports that we are aware of and that we are going to be taking into account and working on throughout the duration of the program, all of that information is right here on this page. So you all are free to peruse this, as I had mentioned. Anyone with a UW Net ID can get in. And if you have any questions or if you see anything that you have questions about, you can feel free to reach out to our team. If I go back here for questions, we've got a program email. It's uwftask@uw.edu. So that is essentially what I've got for you all today. I can stop sharing. And Kelly, is it a good time to answer some questions in the chat?
Yeah, so since they're related to the content, we can go ahead and address them. I have one from me, so I'm going to jump on that one first. So how quickly will our PowerPoint presentations be available to us? We usually get it out about a couple business days after, so you can expect it probably by Friday. And then we send the YouTube recording. And then we also will share PDF versions of the slides. So you'll have access to both of those. So if you want people to be able to hear us presenting, you just share them the YouTube link. And then attached on the email when the YouTube link comes out, we'll have both Rachel's slides as well as mine. And I'll go ahead and read the other questions for you, Rachel. So,
Sure.
question from John. So, is UW-FT expecting any delays due to current and future public health concerns? So, related to COVID and all that, has there been any updates as far as timeline, or is it everything moving as usual?
Yeah, that is a great question. Currently, we are not expecting any delays. Something that I think we've been very fortunate as a program team is that we've pivoted into remote work really quickly. We already had actually a lot of Zoom meetings and accounts and trainings done before this pandemic hit, which was very, very fortunate. So at this time, we are not anticipating any delays, but if something like that comes up, we definitely would be communicating it out either on our websites or in a newsletter.
Perfect. And then what is the difference between procurement and supply chain is one of the questions.
Yeah, that's a great question too. In the current state at UW, right, there's, I would say, kind of a bigger difference. Normally procurement is about getting goods or services as we need, and supply chain today really speaks more to our medicine partners, our UW medicine physicians, all of the different hospitals and groups, and they are typically more interested in inventory and tracking and all of those receiving things that they need to do. In our future state in Workday has let us know that procurement and supply chain are going to be one and the same. So instead of treating these as separate groups, when Workday gave us the update, I want to say it was towards the end of last year, we updated our business process to say, okay, when we think about all of the things that involve purchasing or inventory in the future, we know that those are all going to be one.
Sorry, I was muted there for a second. So and another question, what do you mean by the term taxonomy? Is one of the questions.
Yes, so apologies if I wasn't clear on this. So taxonomy is essentially how we are thinking about all of the work within those, right? So we've got kind of the different levels of taxonomy, and taxonomy is the organization of that work, right? So thinking about travel, we have our big end-to-end process, procurement and supply chain, kind of our level one. So that is the start or the top level of our taxonomy. And then underneath that, we've got, I don't know the exact number. It was about 10 different kind of these big sub-processes and these big bodies of work. The collection of that body of work and then everything underneath is how we're using the term taxonomy. So travel and all travel related work is going to be on that second level. It's a major sub-process that we've got lots of different tasks and processes under that we'll be working through and thinking through finance transformation.
All right, perfect. And then reading some of the other questions, looks like we got some other general kind of compliance questions and things like that. I'm going to go ahead and hold those to the end, like we mentioned in the announcement, just to keep things moving. But we will be doing a Q&A, so I will come back and I will answer those at that time.
Awesome.
Some stuff about fiscal year end and all that, but I'll get to that stuff towards the end. It looks like April was sending that message as well. So yep, I'll come back to, but I will come back to them. So don't worry, I will answer those. But we're just going to hold those to the end, like we planned. All right, now we're going to go ahead and transition over to our COVID-19 updates. So back to the travel services team. So as far as COVID-19, we don't have any major updates. It's mostly just kind of some reminders. But we can use this, at the end of this section. If you do have any other, questions related to COVID-19, we can start to address those. But let's go ahead and get through the content. So all related notices updates are posted on our homepage. So I'd already kind of touched on that when we were talking about the new website. But I did provide the link here. So if you need the link, that'll bring you directly to all the COVID-19 updates. But if you're just on our homepage and you go to important updates, it has its own section. So just know that, when we're providing updates, that's where we're going to store them. So if you're interested in any of our past updates or things we've sent out already, that is where we're keeping all that information. Just wanted to point out also the last when we did our COVID-19 specific information meeting, we had a lot of questions. Obviously, that was right in the heat of it. Lots of people canceling, all kinds of crazy stuff going on. We were getting lots and lots of questions, so it was pretty expected that people would have a lot of questions. But we took the time, separately from the meeting to actually go into detail on each of those questions and make sure to give you the best guidance that we can. So just know that that is a great resource for guidance as far as, what people are struggling with and everything like that. Things such as people, changing and canceling travel plans, other concerns, departments are having. There was a lot of really great questions that came up during that. And we made sure to, actually separately from the meeting, go into detail and answer those. So they're all have red answers and everything like that. And those are just stored, within our COVID-19 section as well. But we gave you the direct link if you're interested in going through those. The section regarding the travel ban from UW Provost office has been updated to their live page with up-to-date information. So what we had previously was that was just the email notice from the Provost office. So we updated it to the actual live link. So if you're interested on updates as far as that, that is the office that is in charge of it. And they are updating, that page as things update. So do make sure that you have that bookmark and you're keeping an eye on it. And that's related to just like the general travel ban regarding UW travel that's going on right now. So if you haven't heard about it or don't know much about it, go to that link, make sure you know what's going on with that. And now we're going to transition to tips on managing unused tickets. So I know this is something a lot of folks are struggling with. So we just came across a couple, ideas and things we've heard from the airline industry. And April's going to go over a couple things that we've kind of discovered with this. And let me unmute her so she can talk. 1 second. There we go.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Kelly, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, if I can hear you,
great.
We're good.
All right, great. So hi, everyone. Like Kelly said, I just really wanted to talk to you about tips on managing unused tickets. We know that from the last travel information meeting, there was a really big concern because we don't have a managed travel program, how are departments able to track these unused tickets, especially when we were giving advice and direction to have the travelers surrender their credits that they received from airlines to the departments. And we know that departments were expressing a lot of concern over travelers using those credits for personal use and for the department to have no way to track that. So that is why we did generate that letter for departments to give to the travelers to let them know that this is a huge audit risk and it could potentially be fraud and be an ethics violation. But we went a step further and we reached out to some of our airline partners, like Gina with Alaska. She did confirm to us that you are able to look up if you have that e-credit or voucher or certificate number. You are able to look up to see if the ticket was used. You would just need that number plus, I believe, like their first and last name of the traveler. And then Kelly, can you go to the next slide? So I'm actually going to go through a step-by-step process so you can kind of see what it looks like. I'll show you my example using Delta's website. So if you go to Delta's booking page, which you'll see in the first image, and if you click on the advanced search, you're going to see the second image pop up and you're going to select use certificates, e-credits, or Delta gift cards. Kelly, next slide. And then that is where you will enter that e-credit or voucher number. And then once you click look up, it's going to ask for the first and last name of the traveler. And then you'll select add e-credit. And then in the last image, you're going to see that it says that it's an unused e-ticket. and it has the ticket voucher amount and the expiration date. Now we know that, you know, departments have, you know, limited resources. So this is just an example if your department did want to check to see if the credit has been used. We are in no way suggesting that you do this for every single e-credit or voucher that you've received back from your travelers. We just wanted to let you know that this is a resource available to you. And then additionally, kind of going back to what Kelly said about the provost office and the travel ban, we have been receiving emails from departments that have been wondering whether or not they can purchase airfare for future travel, because as we know right now, it is very inexpensive and departments are always looking for cost savings. While we cannot give approval to purchase travel at this time with the travel ban in place that was placed by the provost office, if you are able to get your waiver granted based off of the website link that we have provided to you, if you got the approval, we are strongly recommending that you use a travel agency. These travel agencies are able to manage unused tickets and can apply them to future trips. This could take off a lot of the burden on the departments. As you know, we have said it multiple times before, we do have contracted travel agencies. They can be found on our book and pay for travel page. Kelly, next slide. And then lastly, we do want to remind everyone that we do have Washington State contract fares. Those fares are fully refundable. You can use those, you can get those rates in two ways. One is through a contracted travel agency, and the other is directly through Alaska Airlines. Gina, our Alaska representative, was wonderful and updated the steps to set up an EasyBiz account so that you can get those contracted fares, and they are fully refundable. So, and you can interchange them. If you use the contract, you can actually change the traveler's name, if I'm remembering correctly, but don't quote me on it, but I'm almost positive that you actually can change the traveler's names, but only when it's these contracted fares. But do know that they only are for domestic flights. They aren't for international. So just keep that in mind. And we just really wanted to highlight the use of a travel agency or using the contracted fares, because Alaska has come back to us and let us know that many travelers are actually booking refundable fares, but without utilizing the contract. So that is resulting in a loss to UW and just an overall loss to the benefits of that contracted fare. So we just wanted to reiterate that. Does anybody have any questions regarding the content that I just went over specifically? I'll give a few minutes or a few seconds on the chat. If not, I will pass it back to Kelly to go over just the general Q&A. Oh, yep, there's a question. No? Okay. Kelly, I'm going to pass. Oh, do you use a travel agent to book a contracted price? Yes, so to utilize our contracted rates for airlines, yes, you would use a travel agency. But like I said, if you want to use the Alaska contract, you don't necessarily have to use an agency. You can set up an EasyBiz account, which is done through Alaska Airlines directly. And in doing so, you can utilize the rates that way. We do have the instructions on our website under that hyperlink that's on the slide. Can you?
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead, Kelly.
Yeah, I could take it over from now. So Nicole was just clarifying that, yeah, that the fund that they can be refunded, and since she is the user of the contract, that you can change name change and all that, so they are fully changeable. So definitely something that's very advantageous to what's going on. One question was, can you set up EasyBiz without connecting it with a personal Alaska account? Without connecting it with a personal Alaska account, I actually don't know. I would actually reach out to Gina on that question. We can provide the contact information, or I can reach out to her and get clarification on that. I'm actually not sure because I haven't actually set up an EasyBiz account. But if you go to our state contract fair section, there is a step-by-step on there, and it should highlight whether that would be required or not. And Gina's contact is on that new sheet that goes over how to set up the EasyBiz. So I would check that document, kind of go through the steps, and then see if that's a requirement. I'm not actually sure if it is or not. Okay, so let me, I'm going to scroll back to those original questions. Looks like there was one more. Is there a special code for Washington State contract fairs? Can it be used directly to book on their site? There is a code. So if you're working with a travel agency, they would just have that information stored. When you're setting up the EasyBiz account, I believe it would link that code. But if you go to our state contract fair page, actually, since we're being asked for it, let me just go ahead and go to the state contract fair page just to point out the things I was just talking about. It'll take me just a second to pull up the website. I think it'll be a lot more clear if I can actually show that page. Okay. So like we mentioned in the meeting, this has been updated. So if you have any questions about the state contract fair, so kind of a lot of the stuff you guys are asking are related to stuff that is posted here. So booking can be booked through a contracted travel agency, so it links you over to that. And then the EasyBiz program, there's a link right here that says how to get started. And if you click that, it's a step-by-step. So if you have any concerns about how it links to personal accounts and everything like that, it goes over all those details. And then it also has Gina's contact information on there, since she's the one, I believe, who finalizes the account for you and everything like that. So if you have any concerns about just EasyBiz, or you're just wondering about the EasyBiz program in general, I would follow that link, give that a read, and then you should have a better understanding of how that works. And it's just kind of like think of it kind of like as like a booking tool for being able to book Alaska airfare is kind of the purpose of that. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the questions. And I'm gonna scroll back a little bit because we had some of those ones from before. I wanna make sure I get to everything. So I think this was the first one. If I do miss any, please point it out and let me know. I'll do my best to get all of them. So Dora had a question. So many reimbursement requests. So we don't have many reimbursement requests, but a lot of people are registering for virtual conferences. Does it have to be reimbursed through an ER, or can it be an XR? Yeah, if you're just doing registration costs, you have the option to go ahead and reimburse that on an expense report or on an XR or an e-reimbursement. So whatever just feels easier, quicker. It's up to you, since we allow registration costs to go through expense report or XR. So it would be basically just a personal choice on which one you would prefer. It would be allowable to go through either. What should we do for travel reimbursement requests when travelers have the receipts in the office? Fiscal year end is coming up. Yeah, I'm kind of wondering, does that mean like because people aren't in the office, you're trying to wonder what to do? That is a good question. Fiscal year end. So fiscal year end is something that we're waiting to be finalized. So the procurement team is currently working on it. If you do go to the fiscal year end page, it says 2020 coming soon. And so we will be announcing, the official cutoff date and everything like that as soon as we have the information. So we're actually still waiting on it, but we will let you know. And as far as, receipts being at the office, that is, something we may need to address offline and kind of figure out a solution for you. But if that still feels like it's going to be an issue once you hear what's going on with fiscal year end, please reach out to us and we'll give you some guidance. We'll try to figure out how we approach that. I don't have a great answer for that right now. All I can think of right now is do people have a virtual receipt or have the actual online receipt instead, or from an email that they can send over instead of the hard copy? Is kind of the solution I'm thinking of in my head. But just more to come as far as fiscal year end. And if you still have concerns about that, reach out to us. We can help you out. We usually don't reimburse people for mileage and parking when they drive to UW, but now people don't take buses. And what's the procedure if they approve for going to UW for a business reason? People would travel now instead of taking a bus. I'm assuming you're talking about like commute expense. So it would still be considered, their commute. And so it still would not, if you're looking at the compliance, it would still not be reimbursable. This comes from, IRS compliance that states, even if the circumstances change, commute expenses, no matter what ground transportation they're taking, is not reimbursable if it's related to the traveler's commute. We have heard if there's some sort of like critical situation, there may be a workaround to that. But where we've been directing those questions to is to the tax office. So if you have any sort of crazy situation where you feel like related to COVID, some crazy safety concern, that you think the commute would be, should be justified or allowable, we'll be directing you to the tax office. There is an exception, I believe, in the fringe benefits that may allow for it, but it's something you want to work out and make sure, that the tax office gives you guidance on and feels comfortable with, kind of thing. So, but if you're just looking at the compliance as it normally is, it's not reimbursable because it's related to commute, and the IRS commute policy does say if the circumstances change that it's not allowable, but there is, this one kind of subsection related to like critical situations. So work with the tax office on that if you have anything like that coming up. Refundable fares should be, we already touched that. Easy biz, so I went over that. Do you also recommend the same for booking a hotel to use a travel agency, or would you recommend contacting the hotel directly? Had some issues with Hotwire because of COVID where the conference was canceled. No refund. A lot of the same thing would really apply to hotel. So there's just situations, where the travel agency has, a good relationship with hotels. So working through Hotwire, they may just completely turn you away. Whereas if you're working with that travel agency, a lot of times, they work with that, or they contact and work with that hotel a lot. And they may have, kind of background, agreements that they have with hotels as well, where they could potentially get a refund or get a credit of some kind, whereas where you couldn't do it through Hotwire. So I would say, generally there probably would be an advantage to getting the hotel through the travel agency as opposed to going through Hotwire. Of course, Hotwire may have some super savings and things like that. So it's kind of left, up to the department to kind of evaluate. If you feel like there's a high risk that hotel is going to be canceled, I would say you can kind of go based on some of the stuff we've been saying for airfare, where fully refundable fares are nice and things like that. And I would say that a travel agency would excel in that situation. I'm not a fan of using second party travel companies. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Something about EasyBiz account, is that separate from CBT? So yeah, that's different than our travel agencies. So again, kind of like I was mentioning on the state contract fair, just go to that section about EasyBiz. It'll tell you about how the account works. It's not related to our travel agency partners. It's a completely separate thing. It's a direct like booking tool with Alaska. Is the best way to think about it. About the airfare charge to CTA. I'm not sure exactly what you're asking there, Dora. Is there a special code for Washington contract fares? So yes, if you are purchasing directly with Alaska, that's the code YCAWA. So that was the code you're asking about. So it's right here on the website. So Julie had said when I tried to set up an EasyBiz, it linked to my personal Alaska account. So it looks like, okay. So people are clarifying that it does link to your personal account. If you have an Alaska FF account, the answer is no. So I guess there may be some workarounds. But yeah, if you're concerned about it linking to a personal account, what I would do is, follow those steps and work on it with Gina. So Gina would be the expert. If there are any workarounds, she would let you know how that would work. So if you're concerned about linking to your personal account, doesn't necessarily mean for sure that there isn't a workaround. So we would recommend working with Gina on it. So Nicole had shared the code. So again, it's right here on the website. Thanks for sharing that. So John has a question about, so let's see, just a more general question. Is there any updated information regarding enhanced IDs required for domestic and international travel? Last I looked, that travel policy was going into effect this October. So yeah, there actually has been an update. It looks like it's been extended to 2021. Probably, yeah, it could have been a good topic for this meeting, but we just didn't catch it in time. I think it just recently got changed too. But yeah, due to COVID, it looks like the extension has been given through 2021. But we'll make sure to keep you guys up to date, and we'll look a little bit more into it. We just want to make sure that we confirm that to be absolutely true and all that. But it does look like that it has been extended from what I have seen. Looks like the new date is October 2021. But you'll be hearing more from us. We'll keep you updated on all that for sure. That's a great question. Oh, Teresa wants to be unmuted. Sorry. Just hard. Yeah, there's lots of chat questions, so it's hard to see everything. But let me get Teresa unmuted.
I think I got her unmuted, Kelly.
Oh, nice. Okay. Okay. Yeah, if Teresa has anything to jump in, go ahead and jump in on me anytime.
I'm sorry. You already covered it. It was about the EasyBiz and the personal account. It should not link to a personal account. So if you have any problems with that, we can contact Gina.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Ahead. Yeah. I figured there was a workaround at least. So maybe it prompted for you, but there's probably a way to avoid it, kind of thing. So yeah, if you follow those steps, work with Gina, should be able to help you out.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, let's keep moving along. So I'm working on an expense report where the daytime conference was in Seattle at the Washington State Convention Center. The traveler is requesting lunch per diem for Seattle. Is that allowed? Generally, it wouldn't be. So to qualify for per diem, aka for meals, they have to be on what's called travel status. So travel status means they have to be more than 50 miles away from both their home and their duty station. And for single day trips, they also have to have been traveling / working for more than 11 hours. So if they don't meet those requirements, then they would not qualify. So generally, people that work here on campus, any sort of local Seattle conferences, for the most part, they're not going to be more than 50 miles away, so they would not be on travel status. We have all that information on our per diem page under eligibility. So you have to meet that eligibility section to qualify for lodging and to qualify for meals. So based on that information, it sounds like they probably would not be on travel status unless they don't work here on campus. So if they let's say they work for UW and they work in Spokane, that would be more than 50 miles away. And yeah, they most likely be on travel status. But for the most part, local stuff, they don't qualify for meals because of that per diem requirement. There's free parking at E1 through E18. Yeah, we have heard about that. So anyone curious about free parking, there's free parking options right now. Saw the email about E18. Do we know if it will be free parking throughout summer and quarter? That question I definitely have no idea. The office that would know, if you're curious about parking stuff, is I believe it's Transportation Services. If you go to their website, just Google UW Transportation Services. I'm sure they have updates on their website. And if you have any questions, I would reach out to them. If I were curious about that, that's who I'd be reaching out to. Looks like some people gave some clarification on it. But again, if you're unsure, yeah, reach out to the Transportation Services. That's their content. Find that information about the travel documents deadline. Could you add it to this presentation before you send it out? Yeah, we could look into that. We're still just we're waiting for the firm dates though, so we don't want to make just assume a certain date based on last year and have that be incorrect. So it's still it's based on us getting that information. I do know it's like a top priority project, and they're on it right now, and it's something that they're definitely working on, and we're expecting to hear from it hopefully very soon. But as soon as we know, you'll know, kind of thing. If it's not a part of these slides, it will be a listserv announcement. So the moment that site goes live, we'll send out our email and we'll highlight everything you need to know about getting things done for year end. So generally there's going to be kind of like the sort of soft cutoff where we want you to get the expense reports turned in by a certain date for central office processing. So just making sure that we get through all the approvals and everything on our end. And then there'll be, like usual, the hard cutoff date, which is kind of right up to the end. We'll say, this date at this time. If you don't make it, it's going to post to the next fiscal year. So that's kind of the general information. But we're still waiting for those cutoff dates. So we can't give you any dates until we know what those are. Okay, just scrolling through. What will happen if we have an Alaska Air voucher that needs to be used by January? We aren't able to rebook the visiting professor until after that time. Then we will lose the cost of the voucher, I assume, or do we think Alaska will work with us to reissue? So yeah, we would definitely, recommend working with the airline and kind of exploring your options. It's something that, potentially you could get a credit or a name change. But kind of how it works is, once you've explored all those options, if there's just absolutely no way for it to be used, then it just gets forfeited, like you mentioned. So if you've explored all those avenues, you worked with the airline or the agency, whatever, all those different options you could think of. And if it's just like, oh, there's no travel coming up, we can't change the name on it, then in that case, it generally just gets forfeited. So it's a loss. And then for future travel, consider picking fares that are refundable, like we've mentioned in the presentation and things like that, or working with the travel agency, because then you could avoid that running into that issue again. We also, in the COVID updates section, if you go, there is a notice that can be sent to travelers regarding the risks and how they're not allowed to use it for personal use. So if you're concerned about them, just using it for personal use before January, we do have like a notice that was reviewed by UW Internal Audit that goes over that. And I'll go ahead and point it out since I have it right up. So it's right here under notices for COVID-19 updates. We drafted a UW Traveler sample notice. And it's a Word document, and it addresses to the traveler, and it mentions, that they're kind of what their options are, what they should be doing with the replacement fare, and it like explicitly states, that they can't use it for personal use unless they meet, these certain requirements. So we would recommend, knowing what that notice is, and then if you have any concerns about how it may be misused, that sample notice is there available to you. So April shared some parking updates. So if you're interested to learn more, she's got a link for you there. what do you recommend using for booking international trips? So do you mean like kind of what booking like tool or what agency? As far as booking international trips, we definitely recommend working with a travel agency, just because the more complex things get, the more travel agencies excel. Obviously, you know, people like to avoid agencies because they do have a fee associated with them, you know, so if you booked on your own, you know, you're not going to have the travel agency fee. But if you just consider all the other things, those generally will outweigh the fees that are charged by the agency. So you got, you know, your issues of duty of care. So especially for international travel, if you book, you know, international travel directly with an airline or through Expedia or whatever it may be, you're not going to have access to like the safety features that come with a travel agency. So travel agencies, they have tracking tools, like they do a great job of like knowing where travelers are. They also have ways of like, you know, working with that country and like helping you get out of the country. A lot of them have like third-party agreements with like duty of care providers, where those providers can actually step in and like help somebody in like a weird kind of crazy situation when things are happening international. So that's just something to consider that you just would not have access to if you're booking off agency. And then of course, you know, with what's going on, they excel with change fees and replacement fares, and working with airlines to get replacement fares and be able to change the name and everything like that. And then international travel, you know, it just becomes more risky and more complicated with that stuff in general. So that's what we recommend. And then we do have multiple travel agencies. So, you know, one agency may be better at international, one's better, you know, at domestic. So if you're considering a travel agency, just, you know, make sure you go to our website and check out the different ones. They all have links with more information. You can start to explore what their options are. And you're welcome to, you know, reach out to them and ask questions. They can give you, you know, pricing sheets and show you how much they charge for different types of transactions, what their different perks, their different services are. And so if you are considering an agency, we would recommend, you know, not just, you know, picking one, going through the different lists, you know, shopping around, checking out the different rates or what they excel in and all that kind of stuff. How do you get to the COVID-19 site? Yeah, sorry for going fast. Let me go back. So if you are on our homepage, what you will do is scroll down. So this is the new homepage. If you scroll down, there is a section right here called Important Updates. And then the link is right here where it says COVID-19 Important Updates. You just click that and then it brings you there. And then in the slides that we send out, the direct link is provided on the slides as well. So you can use either of those. If you just copy and paste it from the slide and then put it in your web browser, that'll bring you directly to there. But if you're coming from our homepage, scroll down, Important Updates, COVID-19 Important Updates, you click it, and then that's how you get there. And that's where the sample notice, chat questions I was talking about, our last information meeting, if you want to hear the recording, and then some of those other notices. And then that link I was talking about, all official UW travel outside the United States restricted until further notice. If you click this update right here, that brings you to the like the Provost office notice website that goes over all that information. And if they have any changes, that's their like live site for keeping people updated. Could you please show again how you go to the tracking e-ticket? Yeah, I'll go back to those slides real quick. So let me share my screen real quick. So just looking at this, so this is Delta's, you know, standard. If you just go to Delta's website, this is what it looks like when you're going to do a booking. You can you'll see this blue screen. So if you just Google, you know, book on Delta, it should come right up. It's just their general booking site. And then we'll be sharing these slides so you can walk through these these later on, and it should look pretty similar for Alaska Airlines and the other airlines as well. We don't have screenshots for those ones, but just know that there is a similar process. And so you go and then you click advanced search, and then like April mentioned, so you click, use certificate, e-credit, and you click that button. And then when you come down, it's going to give you the option to search by certificate or e-credit number. So that information should be available, on the original booking receipt. You can pull that information. And then it's also going to ask you for the first and last name. So essentially what that means is if you have the original, receipt, you should be able to grab that information, come to the Delta website, you go to that advanced search, plug it in, and then it's actually going to pull up that ticket. It's going to let you know kind of what the credit was, what the expiration date is, and if it's unused. So it's a way to double check that it wasn't used for personal use. And like April mentioned, this is not a requirement. So we're not announcing this as like a procedure that departments have to do. It's more like a tip on a way that you can track it. So let's say like you had a concern with a ticket, you feel like maybe a traveler is trying to abuse it or use it for personal use, you can actually follow these steps and then go to, verify if that ticket was used or not. So if like, let's say you sent the notice to them saying that they're not allowed to use it, something like that, but you wanted to double check, you could go in and see if it actually had been used. There's a way to take a look. So that's kind of a use case where it may be applied. But again, it's not required. It's something that you can do. Will you give announcements for when non-essential domestic and international travel will start again, or will that just be posted on the website and the COVID-19 website? We'll definitely be announcing when stuff like that gets announced. So very similar to like when as soon as we discovered the provost office, since it was very related to what we do, if they lift the ban or anything like that, we'll definitely plan on getting an announcement out so you guys are aware. But just make sure that you're connected to their newsletters and stuff like that, so that because when the very first notice comes out, it's not going to be coming from us, it's going to be coming from them. So if you want to catch it at the very beginning, just make sure that you are getting their notices, and then the moment we learn about it, since it's travel related, we'll be announcing it to campus as well. If there are any other concerns or anything to address with it, we'll also address that as well. For premium economy seats upgrades, what are examples of justifications? We need aside from prior administration approval, or do we need a justification as long as we have approval? So yeah, what Morel's talking about. So if an airfare has a seat fee or an economy upgrade, so that would be like upgrades within the main cabin. Sometimes these are a little difficult to distinguish, but usually they're called premium economy or coach upgrade, or Delta calls theirs Delta Comfort Plus, and things of that nature. But usually how we approach it is like anything in the main cabin that requires justification and approval from an administrator. Examples of justification, usually for airfare upgrades, I think the most common one is usually a medical accommodation, but our guidance is to direct those through the DSO office, which is the HR unit. It's the Disability Services Office. And we have information about that in the ADA section on our website. But some other justifications. So if it's not medical, we recommend going through the HR, that Disability Services Office. They're the office that's equipped to handle that. But if it's something outside of that, like a business justification, then that would be approved by the administrator. An example might be that that they needed, that it was absolutely necessary that they needed the additional workspace because they had critical work that needed to be done on the plane, something like that. I've seen that be approved. But again, it's kind of up to the discretion of the department and what the funding allows. And so there could be, quite a few examples. But I would say it's pretty uncommon that things are being, approved when it's not something that's a medical accommodation. But things do come up from time to time where the department has a strong argument for why it should be approved. Does the Delta ticket automatically become an e-ticket unused, or was that supposed to be established prior to the flight date? So yeah, this one's kind of tough to speak on. It's really dependent on the fares. Since our office isn't involved with booking travel, we don't really have a whole lot of expertise on vouchers and credits and kind of how that stuff works. But kind of what I can share is, yeah, it's dependent on the fare, the airline, how many days in advance things are being canceled, and so it's really dependent on the fare. So it's kind of impossible for me to answer that. It's very dependent on what fare was purchased, and yeah, the timeline and all those kind of things. Again, kind of points to where a travel agent could be beneficial. That can make sure they're guiding travelers to be purchasing the right type of fare. Like one issue we see is when people are excuse me, are booking on their own, they're not paying attention to what fare type they're purchasing. And then for example, like one fare type that can cause problems is basic economy. So like if you book basic economy on Delta versus buying just like the main cabin, you lose a lot of flexibility as far as like how you can change the fare. So let's say when you're on basic economy, for example, and you need to extend the fare by one more day. Let's say the conference just changed and now it's 3 days instead of 2 days. Obviously that's out of the traveler's control. If you're on basic economy, that's it. The fare just gets forfeited, it's gone. Whereas if you were on main cabin, which may have only been $20-$30 more expensive, you can actually pay a change fee, pay like $100, $150, get it changed, extend the days, and then you're all set. And so if you look at it like from a cost saving standpoint, there you just, if you're on basic economy, then you got to book a whole nother airfare. You're looking at possibly having lost hundreds of dollars because the traveler didn't purchase what would have been a more advantageous fare, kind of thing. So those are all kind of the things to be considering when booking flights. And yeah, travel agents just take a lot of the headache as far as that stuff. So yeah, kind of like I mentioned, the difference between basic economy and main cabin, it can be different for each airline. And to be honest, I'm not a huge expert since we're not booking travel, but that Delta one is one that I do know pretty well. Delta basic economy. If you book basic economy, you have no flexibility on changing the dates or like the name on the fare or canceling. It's just what happens is if you can't make that flight, it's just gone no matter what. Whereas if you purchase it on main cabin, then you actually can change it at least, but you pay a fee, but then you're not stuck with a fare that's completely forfeited and you're booking a new one. So something to consider when it comes to basic economy and main cabin. I will say right now in our travel agency's booking tools, we have basic economy disabled because of those issues. And so it doesn't mean you can't use basic economy. So we do get asked like, oh, does that mean we're not allowed to use basic economy? The answer is you can use it, but you just need to be aware of those risks when you are. So just consider those problems that I was mentioning when doing the booking. And again, leaving it up to the travelers. A lot of times they're only just looking at the cost. They're not considering, the fare type. And so just something to think about. But again, our booking travel isn't mandated, so we can't, you don't have to use a travel agency. It's just something that's highly recommended. Basic economy is not available in CBT, correct? Those fares are completely disabled in the Concur booking tool. All right. Looks like questions are starting to slow down. But if you still have any questions, we'll still be here hanging out. And then again, we'll send this out as a YouTube link. So if everyone's, if you're done with questions, you're welcome to leave at this point. But thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate you, and hopefully everyone's staying healthy and safe and sane during COVID.